Hi, this is Tara. Welcome to Sky Gazing. Today we're doing a summary of the entire Samadhipada, which is the book one of Patanjali's Yogasutras. The best way to introduce this is to tell you the story that Swami Satyananda tells while he's opening his 4 chapters on freedom. And so he basically tells the story of how two pandits or two yogis are entering this arena, and they're sitting and arguing. As they enter, they begin to argue about the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And one says to the other, "Don't you think Asampragnata Samadhi is exactly the same as Nirbija?" The other says, "No, it's completely different." And they argue and argue. And people are watching, and the guru who's there sitting at the side and is completely silent. At one point, they do remember he's there. They turn to him and they say, "What do you think of this?" And he says, he's about to speak when the other one says, "I have read so many books, and this one says this, and that one says that," which is suitable to note when we are trying to compare 6 bhashyas. The guru keeps silent. Then, in some time, a cow comes and sits behind them, and they don't notice because they're arguing so vehemently. And the cow suddenly lets out a loud moo, and everybody bursts out laughing. And both of them, of course, are startled. They jump with fright. And Swami Satyananda says, "The cow uttered the wisest words in the satsang. Unknowingly or perhaps knowingly, it told everyone, including the Pandits, that the Yoga Sutras of sage Patanjali were not written for intellectual debate and speculation. They were written to explain the process and practical methods of raising levels of awareness, gaining deeper wisdom, exploring the potential of the mind, and eventually going beyond the mind." So I think that's a wonderful way to sort of consider what it is we are undertaking. If you notice, even Patanjali, when he sort of begins his sutras, begins by asking you to be very conscious of the destination. Why it is we are undertaking the study, what we hope to gain by it, is exactly how he begins the Yoga Sutras. Why is that, right? Why couldn't he have first jumped to the Sadhanapada, which is the practical aspect of the text? That is precisely because he wants us to keep in mind that there is a higher goal to this. It's not just intellectual blah blah. So, what is it that we have learned in the Samadhipada? The Samadhipada gives us first the definition of yoga, the purpose of yoga, the vrittis, what is practice and what is detachment, which is the path to stilling the vrittis. Then he explains to us sampragnata and asampragnata samadhi. Then, how do we attain that experience? What is Ishvara? If you cannot focus on Ishvara, you can focus on the symbol of Ishvara, which is the Pranava. What are the obstacles to progress that come up? What are the methods of harmonizing the mind? And here Patanjali gives us method after method. He says, "This is not for you, this is for you. This is not for you, this is for you." And then finally he brings us to the ascent from Sabija into Nirbija Samadhi. And it's, if you notice, it's very, very systematic. It's very layered. It is not exactly Samadhi is not some whimsical sitting around with an idea of enlightenment. It is not even visualization so much. It is of a visualization of some fanciful notion. It is a very systematic entry into the layers of the mind, into the layers of sense objects, into the layers of how the mind attaches to the sense objects, and how we can overcome the limitations or the kleshas, which he'll go into more detail in the Sadhana Pada. And we're also, as we begin this, just confronted with Patanjali's excellent, his expertise, his pithiness, his need to just say what you need, and how to lead a student step by step. If you look at modern instructional design and you had to write a book on yoga today with those modern techniques, you couldn't surpass, which is why even today Patanjali's Yoga Sutras are the sort of seminal text on understanding what is yoga, especially in these times where yoga is calisthenics, yoga is acrobatics, yoga is exercise, yoga is goat yoga and puppy yoga and God knows what else, hot yoga and cold yoga. It's very, very important to understand why it is you undertake what you do, not simply because we want people to align to the traditional version. Of course, you're free to go and practice any form of yoga that you like, but it is because when you undertake these specific practices without understanding what they're going to do, the impact is on you. And these do, when undertaken consciously or unconsciously, alter the way you think, you relate to your body, and you relate to the world. So it's very important to sort of be grounded on what exactly you're doing and why. And if yoga is not for you, then it's not for you. But if you are undertaking it, you should understand that these things have impact. Okay, with that, we will begin each sutra. I'm just going to briefly state them because we already have episodes on each in detail. This is more so that you understand that these fit in a specific systemic flow. And he's leading us, when you read them together, you understand that Patanjali is leading us down a specific path of calibrated understanding and intensification of knowledge. That is the aim of reading this summary. Okay. So, Sutra 1, Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Now, therefore, complete instructions regarding yoga. He's telling us what he's going to do. 2, what is yoga? To block the patterns of consciousness is yoga. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. 3 is Tada Drashtuha Swarupe Avasthanam. He goes straight to the end. Okay, then the seer is established in his own essential nature. Why does he go straight to the end? So that, why doesn't he give us the sadhana pada first? So that we understand what it is we are doing, the intensity of the practice, what we are aiming for, and how not to misunderstand or abuse the practices that are to follow. Sutra 4, Vritti Sarupyam Ittaratra. Or there is identification with the modifications of Chitta, Vrityaha, Panchatayaha, Klishta, Aklishta. Modifications of the mind are fivefold, they are painful or not painful. Pramana Viparyaya Vikalpa Nidra. Smrityaha, the fivefold modifications of mind are right knowledge, wrong knowledge, fancy, sleep, and memory. Pratyaksha Anumana Gamaha Pramanani. That is direct cognition, inference, and testimony are the sources of knowledge. He's telling us now, he's unpacking a little bit the fivefold vrittis, viparyayo, mithya, jnanam, atat, rupa, pratishtham. Wrong conception is false knowledge, which is not based on its own form. That is, the object of knowledge is false. Shabda Jnana Anupati Vastu Shunyaha Vikalpaha. Falling upon knowledge through words but empty of an object is fancy. Note that he's saying there is no object. The object of knowledge is imaginary. Abhava Pratyaya Alambana Vritti Nidra. Sleep is the vritti of absence of mental contents for its support. That is, no knowledge. And anubhavatu anubhuta vishaya asampramoshaha smritihi. Not letting the experienced objects escape from the mind is memory. That is past knowledge. Sutra 12, Abhyasa Vairagya Abhyam Tannirodha. The stopping of the five vrittis by repeated practice and vairagya. Tatra sthito yatno bhyasaha. That is, of the two mentioned, that is abhyasa and vairagya, to be established in the endeavor is abhyasa. Sa tu dirgha kala nirantarya satkara asevitaha dhrida bhumihi. to be firmly grounded by being continuing what? Continuing abhyasa for a long time with reverence and without interruption. Sutra 14 is what is qualifying abhyasa, how to practice abhyasa consistently and continuously. Drishta anushravika vishaya vitrashnasya vashikara sajnana vairagyam. When an individual becomes free of craving for the sense objects which he has experienced as well as those which he has heard, that state of consciousness is vairagya. Sutra 15 qualifies vairagya. Sutra 14 qualifies abhyasa. Sutra 16 explains the higher form of vairagya. Tatparam purushakyate guna vaitrashnyam. That is highest, in which there is a freedom from desire for gunas on account of the knowledge of Purusha. So in this, he is telling us that there are two varieties of vairagya. One is the lower state, one is the higher state. Lower form, we transcend the attachment for sense objects, but these still remain in the subtle form. In this, we are overcoming even the subtle form. 17 is the definition of sampragnata samadhi. Vitarka, vichara, ananda, asmita, anugamat, sampragnata, sampragnata. So, sampragnata yoga constitutes association respectively with reasoning, reflection, bliss, and sense of individuality. He started explaining, he's sort of like getting us into the ladder of the basics of samadhi. Sampragnata, samadhi. Sabija to nirbija. Sutra 18 is Virama Pratyaya Abhyasa Purvaha Samskaresha Anyaha. So the other samadhi. Now he's explaining Asampragnata samadhi is preceded by a continued study of stopping the content of the mind. In it, the mind remains in the form of traces. And Bhava Pratyayo Videha Prakriti Layanam. The Videha and Prakriti Laya yogis, those who have transcended body, have both as the cause of a Sampragnata Samadhi. They have it at the time of their birth itself. For the rest of us lesser mortals, Sutra 20, Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Prajna Purvaka Itaresham. That is by faith, by energy, memory, and intelligence arising from Sampragnata Samadhi, we are able to attain the state of Asampragnata Samadhi. Sutra 21, Tivra Samvega Asanaha. That is, those who have an intense urge, you have to really want it, you will attain Asampragnata Samadhi soon. Mridu Madhya Adhimatra Tva Tato Api Visheshaha. With the intensity of urge arising through the mild, medium, and strong conditions, Asampragnata Samadhi can be achieved. So please note that when the yogis speak and they're telling you, oh, you must have an urge for this, they are at no point will a yogi be talking in the wind. Even that urge has to be mild, medium, strong, extremely strong. And each is applied triply to each stage of samadhi. So yoga is very, very systematic. It is not a whim. It is not a casual undertaking of exercise. Sutra 23, Ishvara Pranidhanatva, or by devotion to the Lord, Sampragnata Samadhi can be attained. He's telling you that if this doesn't work for you, use this, use devotion. Then he doesn't just leave it at that. He says, devotion to whom? Devotion to God. But who is God? So, Sutra 24, Klesha Karma Vipaka Asaya Aparam Vrishtaha Purusha Vishesha Ishvaraha. Purusha Vishesha, a distinct kind of Purusha is Ishvara. Please note, this is coming from Sankhya philosophy, where they do not believe in a personal God. They do not believe in a creator God. Patanjali introduces the concept of God into the Sankhya philosophy. Ved Vyasa is explaining that to us. And therefore, this concept of God, of who is Ishvara, it is very, very important to understand this before you proceed in the Patanjali Yogasutras. Ishvara to Patanjali is a distinct kind of Purusha, that is a liberated Purusha. So this sutra is very, very important. 25, what are the attributes of Ishvara? Tatra nirati shayam sarvagnya bijam. In Ishvara, there is the seed of limitless omniscience. 26, Ishvara is therefore the Jagat Guru. By Jagat Guru, he means that which is the Guru of Gurus, the Master of Masters. Purvesham api Guruhu kalena anavacheda. So it is he who has come even before the teachers. Tasya vachakaha pranavaha. He is designated by Om. Om becomes the symbol of Ishvara. Tat japa tat artha bhavanam. The word Om should be repeated, but with feeling, with experience, with absorption. Okay. Tataha pratyak chetanaha adigama api antaraya abhavacha. So from the practice, the consciousness turns inward and obstacles are overcome. So why are we surrendering to Ishvara? Why are we meditating upon the pranava, the symbol of Ishvara? Because from that practice, we overcome obstacles. What obstacles? I have not heard about obstacles, you know. He's telling me. Sutra 30, Vyadi, Sthana, Samshaya, Alasya, Avirati, Bhranti Darshana, Alabha, Alabdha Bhumikatva, Anavasthitatva, Chitta Vikshepa, Te Antarayaha. Disease, dullness, doubt, procrastination, laziness, craving for enjoyment, erroneous perception, the inability to achieve a finer state, instability, obstacles to the mind, these are. Okay. There are 5 more distractions. These are dukkha daurmanusya, angame jayatva, shwasa prashwasa, vikshepa saha bhuvaha. So these are pain, depression, the sort of sadness of the mind, the heaviness of the mind, shaking of the body. Shwasa prashwasa is the inhalation and exhalation that is afflicted, kind of like asthma or breathing issues. And vikshepa is distracted mind, saha bhuvaha adi accompanying symptoms. Tat pratishedhartam ekatattva abhyasaha. How do you remove these obstacles and the 5 distractions? That is by focusing the mind one pointedly. He's asking for ekagrata. Sutra 33, Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekshanam Sukha Dukkha Punya Punya Vishayanam Bhavanataha Chitta Prasadanam. So by cultivating, if this doesn't work for you, so first he says, focus on Ishvara. Ishvara doesn't work for you, focus on the pranava, chant the pranava with devotion, with dedication, overcome the obstacles. If you're still not able to do these and concentrate the mind, then you can do it by developing maitri, friendliness, karuna, compassion, mudita, gladness, upekshanam, indifference or equanimity, sukha, happiness, dukkha, misery. Find your balance between these. Punya, virtue, vice, vishayanam of the objects. The mind becomes purified and peaceful. 34, still another path, if these have not worked for you, or by the expiration and retention of breath, one can control the mind. Prachardana, vidharanabhyam, va pranasya. So he is introducing pranayama here. By the inhalation hole and retention of the breath, the kumbhaka, you are able to concentrate the mind. Vishayavati va pravriti pravritihi utpanna manasaha sthiti nibandhani. Or else the mind can be made steady by bringing it into activity of sense organs. So now, supposing you have not been able to focus on Ishvara, on the symbol of Ishvara, on not being able to get rid of the obstacles, you're not able to retain the breath, focus the mind through these paths that he's giving you. He's saying then take the mind towards the sense objects by observing the sense experience. Or he says, or by inner illumination, Vishokava Jyotismati, that is, all the luminous state which is beyond sorrow can control the mind. Okay, so if you're able to go there, go there. With the raga, Vishayam va chittam, all the mind can be brought under control by making, if you're not able to do any of these, focus on somebody who can. Very simply put, find a master who is desireless and focus your mind on him, and that will carry you through. The number of options that Patanjali gives, he's basically saying nobody. That is why Sharad Joyce Guruji used to say, there is nobody who cannot practice yoga. It is only the person who is lazy who cannot practice yoga. Sutra 38, and Patanjali is embodying that. He's saying, this is the path. If that's won't do, he's opening doors left, right, and center for us. Swapna Nidra Jnana Alambana, or else the mind can be made steady by giving it the knowledge of dream and sleep. You want to sleep? Sleep. Use your dream. Use your sleep for yoga. Yatha Abhimata Dhyanatva, or else by meditation as desired. What is it that you want to meditate on? Meditate on it and concentrate your mind. Paramanu Paramamahatva Antaha Asya Vashikaraha. From the smallest atom to the thing of greatest importance, if you meditate on it, it will concentrate your mind. Kshina vritteha abhijatasya aiva maneha grahatir grahana grahesyu tatstha tadagnya samapatihi. So samapati, he says, is a state of complete absorption of the mind, which is made free from the vrittis. What is the vrittis? Free from the separation of the cognizer, the cognized, and the process of cognition. It is as clear as a polished crystal that takes on the color of that on which it rests. So now he's leading us from having concentrated the mind, overcome the obstacles through any path possible, to the basics of samadhi. The first basic samadhi is savitarka samadhi, which he says tatra shabdhartha jnana vikalpaha sankirna savitarka samapatihi. In that state of samapati, on account of alternating consciousness between word, true knowledge, and sense perception, we have a mixed state of mind, which is known as savitarka samapati. We are still seeing things separately. 43, the next stage is nirvitarka samapati, which is smriti, parishuddha, swarupa, shunya, artha matra, nirbhasa, nirvitarka. So this separation of the mind is now moving towards more of a union. So after the clarification of memory, when the mind is as if devoid of self-awareness and the true knowledge of the object alone is shining within, that is nirvitarka samapati. And I've explained within the longer episodes on the sutras the difference between samadhi and samapati. So please do listen to those episodes as well. So etayaiva savichara nirvichara cha sukshma vishaya vyakhyata. 44, these are the other forms of samadhi. And he says this explanation which I've given you for savitarka nirvitarka also applies to savichara and nirvichara. Except Sutra 45. Sukshma vishayatvam cha alinga paryavasanam. The stages of samadhi in respect to single objects extends up to alinga prakriti, that is unmanifested prakriti. So savitarka nirvitarka is concentration on the gross. The same applies to the subtle, and the range and scope of the subtle extends all the way up to alinga prakriti. 46, samadhi with sita eva sabija samadhi. Those stages which have been explained before are only samadhi with seed. Nirvichara vaisharadhye adhyatma prasadaha. So after becoming absolutely perfect in nirvichara samadhi, we reach the point of spiritual luminosity. Sutra 48, cosmic experience. Ritambara Tatra Prajna. Once you have reached the level of the luminosity, the superconsciousness becomes full with cosmic experience. Sutra 49, Shruta Anumana Prajnabhyam Anya Vishaya Vishesharthatvat. This knowledge is different from the knowledge acquired through testimony and inference because it has a special object. Taj samskaro anya samskara pratibandhi. So the dynamic consciousness that is born of Sabhija Samadhi counters, prevents, or eradicates the other states of consciousness or the other impressions. 51, then one attains samadhi without seed. So, tasyapi nirodhe sarva nirodhan nirbijah. So, after blocking, even that, due to the blocking of all chitta vrittis, seedless samadhi is obtained. And thus concludes the samadhi pada. I hope this is useful to you. I've already uploaded the episode on the first sutra of the sadhana pada. The sadhana pada will have 55 sutras, and it is the more practical pada. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you all tomorrow for sutra number 2 of sadhana pada.